It had wood paneling, a rear-facing third row, a tailgate you could sit on, and the kind of proportions that required its own zip code. But under the hood, it packed a 454 cubic inch V8, one of the biggest, most torque-rich engines ever crammed into a GM production car. This was the Chevy Kingswood Estate, a full-sized family wagon that could roast tires, haul 7 people, and make small block Camaros sweat at the stoplight. It was never meant to be a performance car, but somehow it became Detroit's most ridiculous answer to the question, what if a muscle car had room for the whole neighborhood? This is the story of the muscle wagon America forgot, the 454 powered Kingswood Estate. Before crossovers, before minivans, before SUVs took over the suburbs, station wagons were the undisputed kings of American family transport. From the 1950s through the early 70s, wagons were everywhere. They were long, low, wide, and unapologetically huge. The bigger the better. More chrome, more glass, more roofline. And Chevrolet, they were all in. Their full-size B-body platform formed the foundation of a dynasty. Impala, Caprice, Bel Air, and sitting at the top of the wagon food chain, the Kingswood Estate. By 1971, the Kingswood Estate was a land yacht. Nearly 19 feet long, over 4,600 pounds. But it wasn't just a utility car, it was a rolling statement. And in an era when muscle cars were peaking, Chevy had an idea. What if they gave their biggest, heaviest wagon the biggest engine they made? Let's talk numbers. The 454 cubic inch V8, also known as the LS5 and LS6, it was Chevrolet's largest big block, displacing 7.4 liters of pure American chaos. In full high-compression LS6 spec, it made 450 horsepower and 500 pounds-per-foot of torque. Even the lower LS5 version, found in more family-friendly Chevys, still churned out about 365 horsepower and gobs of twist. It was used in the Chevelle SS, Corvette, and a few full-size models, but when dropped into a Kingswood wagon, it became something else entirely. Now, you had a car that could haul a camper, your in-laws, 7 suitcases, and still light up the rear tires like a Chevelle on a Saturday night. This wasn't just overkill, it was deliberate insanity. The Kingswood Estate was the top-tier Chevy wagon, based on the Caprice platform. It came fully loaded, faux wood grain siding, power windows, air conditioning, automatic leveling suspension, rear-facing third-row seats, and of course, a clamshell tailgate that slid down into the bumper and vanished. A wild feature unique to GM wagons of the era. But the real party was up front. Order the Z27 SS option or check the right boxes in the 70 to 72, and you could get the 454 V8 mated to a turbo-hydromatic 400 3-speed auto. The result? A 4,600-pound wagon with zero respect for physics. Owners reported sub-15-second quarter-mile times. Bone stock. This was the golden age of sleeper performance, even when your mom's grocery getter could gap a Mustang at a red light. The Kingswood wasn't alone in this madness. The late 60s and early 70s were full of V8-powered wagons with absurd performance. The Plymouth Sport Suburban with a 440, the Ford Country Squire with a 429 Cobra Jet, the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser 455. But the Kingswood Estate had the crown jewel. The 454 was Chevy's torque king. Smooth, fast, brutal when provoked. It was the ultimate contradiction, a family car that could outrun a sports car. And Chevy didn't market it that way. There were no add-ons about 0 to 60, no brochures bragging about torque. This was performance sold under the radar, because in those days, horsepower was just expected. It was a time when excess wasn't just tolerated, it was engineered. Why did wagons like the Kingswood matter? Because they were everything in one package. Need a family hauler? Done. Need to tow a boat? Easy. Need to destroy some bias-plied tires and dust a Camaro at the lights? Say less. This was American design at its most chaotic and brilliant. One vehicle that could wear every hat, and wear them proudly. Wagons like the Kingswood were suburban war machines, able to handle family road trips and back road burnouts in the same day. And the interior? Pure luxury for its time. Plush bench seats, acres of space, rear-facing jump seats that turned kids into astronauts. And if you folded the second and third rows, you had a cargo area the size of a New York studio apartment. But then, it all fell apart. By 1973, the American car market was changing fast. Insurance premiums on high horsepower cars skyrocketed. Emissions regulations began choking big V8s. Unleaded fuel mandates hit. And worst of all, the 1973 oil crisis sent gas prices through the roof. Overnight, cars like the Kingswood went from icons of excess to dinosaurs. The 454 was neutered. Power dropped dramatically. Compression ratios tanked. By 1975, the once proud torque monster was barely making 215 horsepower. Buyers abandoned full-size wagons in favor of downsized models. Eventually, minivans and SUVs would replace them entirely. By the late 70s, the muscle wagon was gone, and the Kingswood name retired after 1972. One of the loudest, boldest, and most absurd cars Chevrolet ever built. Gone without a fight. Today, Kingswood Estates with factory 454s are seriously rare. Most were driven into the ground. Few were preserved. Fewer still were optioned with the high-output V8s, and because they weren't treated like performance cars, they often escaped restoration efforts. But for those that remain, they've become cult classics. At car shows, they draw crowds. Not because they're flashy, but because they're insane. The idea of a 19-foot-long station wagon with a drag strip engine is so unhinged. It's beautiful. They're the ultimate muscle car sleeper, and one of the few vehicles that can make both boomers and burnout kids nod in respect. Let's imagine Chevrolet revisits the Kingswood Estate. This time it's built on the Escalade V's platform, a full-size wagon with all-wheel drive, third-row seats, magnetic ride, and the 682 horsepower LT4 supercharged V8 under the hood. Optional tow package, wide-body fenders, throwback wood paneling, hidden burnout mode. It gets built in limited numbers. GM calls it a heritage performance estate. The internet melts. Would it sell? Who cares? Would it be awesome? Absolutely. The Kingswood name deserves to live again, not as a crossover badge, but as a blunt force icon of excess and practicality. The Kingswood wasn't a sports car, it wasn't a track car, it wasn't even marketed as a performance car, and that's what makes it special. It was a true muscle car hiding in plain sight, a family wagon that could go toe-to-toe with factory hot rods when the mood struck. It was a product of its time, but it also transcended it. Today, we celebrate the Chevelles and the Novas and the Camaros, but the Kingswood Estate? That was a muscle car you could live in. It represents an era when America didn't ask why, it asked how big. How big could the engine be? How long could the body be? How many people could we stuff inside while still lighting up the rears in front of the grocery store? That's the Kingswood legacy. The Chevy Kingswood Estate wasn't subtle, it wasn't efficient, and it wasn't trying to be cool. And maybe that's exactly why it was. It was the full-send family car. A muscle machine with rear-facing seats and clamshell doors. A V8 Warhammer dressed in wood grain and chrome. So the next time someone says wagons are boring or muscle cars can't be practical, remind them of the Kingswood Estate. Remind them that there was once a time when grocery runs sounded like drag races. Let me know in the comments, would you drive a 454-powered Kingswood today? Should Chevy bring back the wagon? And what's your favorite forgotten muscle hauler of all time? Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the weird, wild, and wonderful corners of automotive history. Because stories like this, they're just getting started.